there's a lot that goes on the quarterback's plate that they have to handle. And I think so far it's been pretty impressive with what he's been able to take from the meeting room to the classroom and apply it. And I think every time he goes out, he sees something new and makes an adjustment and gets better for it. So as many third down periods and work that we can get for Cam is going to put him in a place where he should be ready to go for the regular season as far as handling what NFL defenses bring at you in a game. So far, so good there.
Obviously some new stuff here today with what you're doing in red zone and third down for him compared to the last couple of days. But do you get anything from seeing him in this setting for the first time?
Absolutely. And, we'll work our silent count here in the stadium today. Not that we're expecting it to be so loud that we can't communicate, but just working that mechanic for the first time in the stadium with some crowd noise, hopefully, is a part of it. But it feels different when you're in the stadium. I mean, there's really no way to put it. It's not the practice field. We're not at St. Thomas. I mean, we're on a real football field in a stadium, and those things, they ramp up the competition. They ramp up the intensity sometimes, and it's good to see guys in that environment.
What have you seen from Iowa Manor and DK so far in terms of getting in the right spot, getting there on time, those sorts of things that really have to be a factor in learning this offense?
They've been really good. Two really smart young players. They have very, very minimal mental errors, which is really good to see for rookie players. Is they pick it up quickly. They work really hard at it. So every time they come out, they minimize their mistakes, which I think is the starting point. You have to know where to line up and know what to do, and then you got to know how to do it. And I think those guys have done a really good job of taking all those things kind of step by step. So again, early in camp, and so far they've been good when it comes to knowing what to do and how to do it.
What would you say the biggest hurdle is for both of those guys, and maybe it's different for each of them to being an impact early?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me for young receivers is when you put pads on and you start to play against press coverage. That's the difference for what these guys see more of now in the NFL is colleges play a lot of softer coverages, off coverages, just in general, and so now you're going to deal with guys up in your face at the line of scrimmage. How do you release? What's your play strength versus guys when they're on your body? That's going to be a big point of emphasis and a big area of revelation to see how they handle those things early on.
How does the veteran infrastructure of the team help young guys like Alec and Kamir, and then also Cam as well?
Well, I think you have some veterans that have been around a while at those positions. Calvin's been an outstanding leader for us in terms of bringing guys with him, making the guys around him better, helping, pouring into the younger players. With Brandon and Tim at the quarterback spot, they've been really helpful for Cam as well, just the perspective of what they've seen and different offenses and different defenses, and their experiences have been great, and they all communicate well together and try to help each other out. And I think that's what ultimately you want from your veteran players is you want guys that are going to pour into the players that are underneath them, even though they're all competing for spots. Our veterans have done a great job of taking that approach of trying to make everybody better, because at the end of the day, we're going to need as many of these guys as possible to help us win games, and they know that, and they do their part as veterans, and I've been really happy to see and proud of those guys for helping us develop these young guys too.
Has Cody Barton and Jeff, and their interactions with Cam, how has that helped him come along?
That's been great. I mean, I think you guys heard Cam talk about it, but they also have conversations back and forth with, what did you see there, and why were you in this spot, and how come you ended up breaking on that ball so easily? What did you see? And they just constantly have these conversations back and forth, which is how you get better. Those conversations are important for improvement.
Brian, with these Titans of Tennessee videos the team has put out, I'm just curious, how involved have you been in that? Has there been a particular message you wanted to get across?
They approached me earlier in the off season, and we had a conversation about just allowing access to do these things, and I think it's really good for people to see behind the curtain a bit and see the interactions our players have, our coaches have, a little bit more of an unfiltered view, if you will, so the fans can find a way to get to know our players and get to know our team and on a different level maybe than they have. So the idea was to allow people to see a little more of what we do and how we do it. And so, yeah, I'm involved in the process, but I don't edit those videos or do anything like that. I just allow them access to meeting rooms and team meetings and miking guys up and having conversations. And they've sort of taken it and run. And I think those videos have been really well done. Our content team, I think, has really poured in a lot of energy to making something that the fans want to watch. And I think so far it's been pretty cool when it's required. But it's really hard over the course of a game, over the course of a season, to continue to go 10, 12, 15 plays in a drive. Defenses actually like you to have to do that because the margin of error is so small that the chances of you doing that successfully enough times to score enough points is challenging. And there's the ability to create explosive plays, to get 20-yard gains and 50-yard gains or 60-yard touchdowns is what the best teams in this league do. And so there's an emphasis on trying to find ways to connect and be more explosive on offense in general.
I guess what maybe has changed that's compelled you guys to want to emphasize that? Is it Cam being here? Is it building an offense that plays to his strengths?
I think that's always what we're trying to do, is build an offense that plays to his strengths. He's pretty adept at throwing the ball down the field. That's something he did really well in college, and he's not afraid of being aggressive with the football, which is a good thing. And then you add some of the players we've added and some of the traits that they have with our young players and some of the veteran receivers we've added that have the ability to stretch the field too. That we got some, there's no secret, we have a lot more speed now at receiver than we've had, and that's exciting.
The decision to swap out Dow and Landers?
I think at the end of the day, Mike and his staff are always trying to take a look at other players, and they felt like Landers has had some unique traits that they wanted to take a look at, and so I think you're going to see that. I think through the course of training camp and in the preseason of just finding some other guys they might want to take a look at. That's what you're supposed to do. I think good front offices, turn the roster and keep trying to find guys that can help you. And I don't think he'll probably be the last one. I'm sure that'll continue.
When you're turning at the bottom of the roster like that, do you tend to look more for offense, defensive help, or special teams help, or just kind of how do you balance what you're looking for?
Yeah, probably a better question for Mike at the end of the day. But you're always trying to find guys that you think might be able to help you, or guys that might be potential, like practice squad players or developmental players that you can see maybe playing a role for you at some point, and guys that have traits to develop on top of it. So I think it's really more about it's not maybe one side of the ball or position specific. It's just, is there players out there we want to see and get in our building and get to know a little bit.
Some of those spots that you're starting trying to evaluate second linebacker, second, third wide receiver. Do you try to give a guy like a couple days before you flip it? What's the rhythm to the first guy versus the next guy?
I think we're going to get more into that rhythm as we get into pads. But it's going to be, they're going to rotate. They both take those guys take reps with the ones. They go back and forth. I mean, those guys they'll have ample opportunities to prove themselves and show that they can do the job. And it varies by day. It's not going to be anything that I could probably pin down as a rhythm that's consistent enough. It's going to be based on the performance and how they're doing each day. And the better guys play, the more opportunities they get.
Did you get a chance to have a conversation with Colton? Maybe would you tell him as he headed out the door?
I did not. I had to call Colton actually because those things happen pretty quickly, and we had to work out in the morning, and they made the transaction while we were in the meeting. So the day goes by pretty quick, but I haven't had a chance to speak to him yet.
Special teams, in terms of the returner spot, what are you seeing early out of that spot?
Not a lot at this point. We haven't had a chance to do a ton of that. And as we get into pads, we'll start to get more full field covering and some of those drills. Right now, it's been more drill work to get going. So yeah, there's a pretty healthy battle that's going to have to occur there, and we're looking for a returner. I don't think that's a secret. But there's some guys that have done it. There's some guys that we're going to give opportunities to do it. So it's a wide open field for the returner spot at this point.
Coach, how has the offensive line looked up to this point, right, in shorts and shells?
Yeah, I think we're improved. I think second year in the system, knowledge of what's expected for the guys that have been here, and then the new guys have acclimated and picked it up pretty quickly. Obviously, veteran players tend to do that between Dan and Zeitler. Those guys have done a really good job. So, again, no pads on yet. Hard to make any proclamations about real improvement, but in terms of knowing what to do and the techniques and the comfort in the scheme and what's asked of them, all of those things have been, trending upward.
What has Cody done to put him in a position to make plays like he has in camp?
I mean, we knew we had some inkling about Cody before the free agency process, but I don't think I had quite the idea he had the leadership ability, the mental capacity, the football intelligence that he has shown. Those things have been super impressive from that standpoint. He's an excellent communicator, and he allows the defense to do a little more because of his ability to see and communicate and diagnose, pre-snap and post-snap. High level of football intelligence and character that, he loves football. He's always around. He's always studying. He's always talking about football with the guys in the room. I think he's also been a reason why I think those young guys, said and James have started to really improve is because they have a guy like him helping them out too. Cody's been everything I think we could have hoped for from that perspective, and we'll see how that comes together over the course of training camp. But from all those intangible perspectives, now we've gotten to know him, it's no surprise he's performing the way he has.
Beyond Roger and Jarvis, what are you seeing from some of the other cornerbacks that you've got here in camp so far?
Yeah, they're all battling, and they're getting better. So we got a lot of young players at the position, so it's a spring worth of learning and getting comfortable, and now you're starting to see if they can apply it all. So there's a lot of competition in that room for guys fighting for spots. The guys that we expect that have played for us have shown that way. I think Jarvis has had a really good start to camp. Been happy with where he's at, and everybody else in there is fighting. And there's a lot of things that have to go on improvement wise, and they're going to continue to get better. So I'm excited to see what that looks like as we keep going.
As far as James Williams and his development, how is that kind of switching from safety to linebacker? Again, how has his development kind of accelerated this year?
Well, whenever you get to a position switch like that, the reading the eyes is usually the biggest part. His eyes, how he sees and diagnoses blocks, and then the reaction time to go, fit whatever it is he has to fit, whether it's a run game or he's got to fit and drop back in the pass coverage. So the pass coverage thing's a little more natural to James because of his safety background. Playing in the box and having your eyes right and reacting and seeing the blocking schemes has been where he's probably made the biggest improvement. Just his ability to read and diagnose has improved tremendously. So, and again, the pads is really where we start to see some of those things separate. But as of now, pleased with his progress, and that's probably where he's made the biggest jump.
Last one. Are you seeing Femi have to go through a similar transition that you saw James last year, or is he a little bit ahead because he got that month or two of reps toward the end?
No, Femi looks pretty comfortable. You can see he knows the position, he plays it. The one thing about Femi is he plays very physical and with a lot of enthusiasm. And you can play outside linebacker if you can do those things. The technique is coming along. He's learning every day. He's going against bigger people and all that stuff. But I've been pretty pleased with where Femi's at. Probably a bit ahead of the curve in terms of where I maybe expected him to be and where he is. So that's encouraging. And again, when we actually start to bang, we'll find out a lot more. So, but so far for him, it's been a good process.